Hello and welcome. Our today's topic is how to start a startup. There is a lot of overlap with our previous discussion because a good part of today's lecture will be covering about motivational aspect of starting a startup, and then mostly it is about what, when and how to start. So, stay tuned. To start or not to start. There are expert advices from various people. My first slide actually is a philosophy given by Sam Altman, who is the president of Y Combinator, and this is part of his lecture at Stanford University. And Y Combinator has already mentored about 1,000 successful entrepreneurs, mostly successful enterprises, startups. So, there is every reason to trust whatever they say as coming from the horse's mouth, but then we must take everything with pinch of salt. He says successful entrepreneurs are those who started the company for a compelling reason, meaning that they were faced with a kind of a pain in the society and they came up with a solution, and there was compelling reason for them to start. Or putting it differently, that one should start a startup only when he or she has a compelling solution to a crying problem, only then. Otherwise, he advises that one should never start a startup. Founders creating new venture with the main objective, main motive to make money are dissuaded. That is obviously true, and we have discussed that several times. At the pink text box, I have mentioned about Shark Tank. You can see some videos in Shark Tank, either in YouTube or some TV channels. You should just give a Google search, you will get it. It is wonderful. There are real investors sitting on one side and a real entrepreneur pitching before them for money, for advice, and everything is almost like pearls of wisdom. So, I would recommend that you should visit this site and try to see some of the videos. Okay, this is a little bit of a technical glitch. And then moving forward, should you start a startup? To drive home the point of Sam offered some statistics, some very alluring, at the same time very intimidating statistics. Like Sam says that you can make more money by working in a startup rather than starting a startup, and you can avoid the risk of starting a startup. And here the data. He says, suppose this is the real data. The first 100th employee or so in Dropbox became $10 million person, because valuation of Dropbox is now about 10 billion. So, the shares that the first guy got is about worth 10 million. Similarly, 100th employee in Facebook is a $200 million person. Compared to that, he offers some crazy data, something like, say, you start a Uber for pet sitting, or say Uber for space travel, and then maybe you will end up making 10 million or $200 million, but then you have to take all the risk and you are absolutely not sure whether you will be successful or not, whether this money will be there for you or not. But then we really do not subscribe to this philosophy, honestly, and one should really think of starting a business if they have the gumption or the guts to do, and if they understand the situation, their own, like this effectuation model, they should know where do they come from, and then what are their strengths, weaknesses and opportunities and threat, and they should look forward to a business model and then start. What should be the real motivation? The fact about majority of successful entrepreneurs is that they pivoted, meaning that they started with some hypothesis, and then they got that tested, and then eventually they found it did not work, meaning they started company, then they failed. but then they did not fail for good, they failed forward, meaning that they restarted another business or the same business with more features or better improved product or business model whatsoever. So, about all the successful entrepreneurs, they start and then they learn in the process. So, obviously, whatever business model they had in mind at the beginning, it did not succeed. So, this whatever Sam says, if that has to be taken for accepted, then almost nobody actually stuck to that and then move forward. An expert also says that if you have a wonderful team, then you will identify attractive business model with sustainable value proposition, and you should be passionate to execute the same, and you should be able to create new venture. That should be the model. However, one should remember that novelty should preferably rest on the benefit and well-being of the target customer, and not really some novelty about the business model per se, meaning that it should not be something like technologically marvelous or something. One should know that this is going to be customers are going to buy them. So, this course actually espouses this particular policy, that you understand value, you come up with value proposition and then get it customer validated. The entire lecture will be around this point. Very few people actually start business with the reason that they have hit upon some groundbreaking ideas which is going to change the world. Very few actually started. In fact, a lot of great business have been created through marketing somebody else's products and services. So, obviously, they did not have that philosophy. And another, there are a lot of motivational literature on motivation to start a startup, and the data I gathered from those journal articles, it kind of tends to say that almost 85% of entrepreneurs start their venture with the sole objective of independence. They want to be independent in their life, in their career, etc., etc. So, again our stand is that you should know your strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threat, and prepare to take challenges traditionally associated with startup. Then you constantly explore, investigate for new opportunities and find synergy with your unique skill. They should bounce their idea off friends and then people with some knowledge about the product or services and some real customer. People with the pain should actually give the feedback, and then they should move forward. They should wait till the idea attains some traction, meaning build some prototype, move through validated learning in that lean startup philosophy, means the agile philosophy. Move ahead with validated learning, make sure customers are ready to pay for whatever you plan to offer. So, do not just in a linear model, do not just keep developing, spending money, time and resources. Validate prototype repeatedly, not by the same set of customer. You should validate it through different set of customers, because some set of customer may have a mental kind of a stereotype. They may be of stereotype, or they may be sympathetic to you or antagonistic to you. So, it is better that you have a different bunch of customers to validate. Understand the direct and hidden pains. Like suppose you tell that the wonderful example given by author I have referred later, referred to furniture.com. Furniture.com, that domain name itself sounds so wonderful. Nobody will get something like this kind of a domain name. Furniture.com started their business without understanding that this delivery and return and customer service is going to be so very difficult. They raised a lot of money, they had everything wonderfully arranged, but they did not understand the hidden pain, that is the pain to deliver, to organize carpenters at different pockets of the country, and then eventually they failed. They just failed. Their domain name also is owned by somebody else now. Perhaps they sold the domain name. You have to gain good understanding of the business process management. That is what Furniture.com did not. Register the company when broad, like don't spend fancy money unless and until you are kind of have accumulated critical mass, like when you broaden your team, raise early round of fund, not fund really, meaning seed capital, and then applying for incubation or acceleration, only then you start the company. Otherwise before that, starting a company also makes almost no sense. It's very important, means most of the discussion may be skewed towards demotivating, but our objective is to motivate. So the decision to become entrepreneur is like learning a bicycle. If you just hold the bicycle for the first time and try to drive, you will be absolutely confident that this is not your cup of tea, and you will be amazed to see that how all Tom, Dick, Harry have been driving bicycle. Unless you start, you sit there, you practice for a while, you will be even afraid to try. So the greatest challenge is to begin, try. So you try with one business model, then you learn, become more matured, and then move forward. Unless you start, you will never know how or what is your potential to start and run a startup. You may have great potential to be successful entrepreneur, so try to explore that. Great entrepreneurs did not have business background, nor did they show any sign of entrepreneurial skill before they actually started. So they started and then they discovered themselves as successful entrepreneur. But then you should calculate the risk, not just because you have to try, so don't just jump, you calculate the risk, understand the level of commitment, it requires a lot of commitment, the potential value and wealth creation prospect, and begin, means you make a balance between these two. There is a saying that expectation drives success. Pessimists and procrastinators, they fail even before they start, meaning that if you are afraid of doing things, so you fail before you start. So you should not procrastinate and you should not be pessimistic. The activity that you plan to do as your business must solve a real problem. This is the benchmark for deciding to start. Do you have, meaning that even though you should keep trying and you can pivot several times, but whatever you start, that must solve a real problem of real people who are actually crying for a solution. Otherwise, even trying also is not worthwhile. If your passion is to solve a problem that is bogging a section of the people, only then you should start. Otherwise, if you start for money, then failure will not be tolerable. So that's it. If the motive is to make money, then breakdown becomes quite often. There is one philosophy which is counter to what Sam Altman said, that is, this philosophy is push type of entrepreneurship and pull type of entrepreneurs actually. So push type of entrepreneurs are those who are pushed into doing entrepreneurship, like they are dissatisfied in their present job, or they lose their job, they have no other career option, so they start a business. That is called push type of entrepreneurship. Pull entrepreneurs are those who are pulled into the attraction of idea or their own capability or whatever the motivation for entrepreneurship, from the business model, from the innovation, from technology that they have, or from the pain they have identified, everything together is the pull type of entrepreneur. So there are these two. This kind of slightly digression, but because scholars are discussing about this, so there is always reason that people will be pushed or pulled into entrepreneurship, and not just having some great idea always. Now, we enter into some discussion of factors to become successful, to start successful business. These factors that determine success of a venture. Like this particular slide has been taken from a new book by Eric Ries. I have the reference at the bottom. Investors make their investment decision. Eric brings to light that all venture capitalists normally look at the team per se. He puts a data something like 65% to 75% of the people will be weight will be given to the team per se, because they think that if the team is great, they can come up with great ideas and they can execute it wonderfully and they can make a winning proposition. So, they believe that team comes first. So, team should be great team, and they can always come up with a business model that will generate profit. Most people think that if the team is great, then on the way moving forward, if one business model does not succeed, then they will come up with a new business model. So, investor wants to see the capability of the team per se to formulate stable business and profit making business propositions. But then that is just one side of the discussion. Today's discussion will be anchored around something that Bill Gross presented in a TED talk. I thought it is wonderful, and I have put it formally here, and we will go by whatever Bill Gross said. This kind of almost like you can say it's acceptable. As Bill Gross himself is a wonderful character. He kind of he says that a startup organization is one of the greatest form to make the world a better place. Aside from that, Bill Gross actually is a serial entrepreneur. He started more than 100 companies. Many of them became billion-dollar companies. He used to sell candies when he was in high school. He used to sell speakers in college. When he just graduated, he started software companies. For the next decades, a few decades, he started more than 100 companies. Many became unicorn, and he mockingly quote Mike Tyson, who was a boxer, and Tyson used to say everybody has a plan until he gets punched on the face, meaning that you always come up with a plan, but you do not know how the plan is going to pan out unless you are punched. And he says customers are the ones who punches. So, customers are the reality. When you bring your product and idea and everything to the customer, offer it for sale, if the customer pays for that, you have a wonderful proposition, you have a real plan, real hypothesis. But if customers do not pay, it's gone, you get the punch, or your idea get the punch. So, he makes an argument what is most important in success of a business. He says, is it the idea? Actually, Bill Gross started a company called Idea Lab, because he used to think that idea is the most important part of successful business, and from Idea Lab actually emerges many companies. But then when he in retrospect analyzes the success and failures of his own Idea Lab companies, he comes up with a wonderful finding that is today's discussion. So, he questions, is the idea the most important, or the team most important, or the business model that actually describes the revenue and profit generation model, or is it the funding, or is it timing that is most important. Timing can be, your product can be too late, too early, or can be rightly timed. And what he came up with after analyzing his own Idea Lab companies as also outside successful and failed companies is highly revealing. So, here are the results. He says timing is the most important factor. You may have a wonderful idea, a wonderful executing team, you may have wonderful everything else. You may have millions of or hundreds of millions of dollars at your disposal, but many companies failed just because it was not at the right time. Either it was ahead of time or it was late in time. So, he says timing is the most important. Team comes second, idea comes third, and idea is actually gives you the differentiation. Then comes business model, that is your revenue model and profit model. Then comes funding. So, funding is the last. He says funding is always available. It is not really the determining factor for success. So, here is in the form of a data how he presents. So, he says timing, will determine 42% of success. Team 32, idea 28, business model 24, funding only 14%. Now, he offers this example, is a wonderful example and very contextual, means is perfectly fit the findings. Airbnb is a company who came with the idea of home sharing, meaning that you have a house and you can co-share the house with visitors, and visitors are going to give you money, give the company money. And Airbnb is a wonderful successful company now. And why it was the time that determined? Airbnb came when US was going through recession, the entire world was going through recession, when people actually wanted for some extra money because they had this mortgage to be paid, some extra money to be made, and even though people normally do not want to share their house with strangers because they do not know what kind of people they are, but because there was some extra money, so they just readily agreed. Same is with Uber. Uber also came up with a revenue model for the drivers, even for unemployed people who just know driving and some minimum capital, they could raise money, and lot of people got employed. Even in India also many people who are driving Uber car or Ola car, you will talk to them, they are earning something like 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees a day. Is a wonderful employment generation tool, and that is why it was so successful. The timing was very successful. He gives his own example, that is G.com or Z.com. It was founded by Bill Gross himself. He raised a lot of money and put some Hollywood celebrities in the video business. It was just like YouTube before YouTube. Before YouTube came, it was exactly what YouTube does. They used to do the same thing. But then that time there are a problem, like the broadband penetration was less, so people did not have that ease of downloading movies or videos. At the same time, there was a technical problem like this video codec problem, video audio compression problem. So, downloading speed was less, and even the whole management was difficult. So, eventually that company became bankrupt in 2003, but in 2005 YouTube was started, and by then Adobe Flash came up with a new codec problem solution, and broadband penetration started increasing. And within 2 years, this company YouTube was started in 2005. In 2006, YouTube was sold to Google for $1.65 billion. Look, just 2 years down the line, a company became a multi-billion dollar company, whereas 2 years back there was no success. It was almost like bankrupt. So, that kinds of gives the message about timing. Nothing can be truer than this, and this is very well known. It is almost like a cliche. Victor Hugo said, there is one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. Meaning, if there is an idea and his time is just right now, nothing is greater than that, nothing can stop that from becoming a successful company. So, we definitely value this, and this is our pecking order for factors that will determine success of a startup. First is timing. Timing should be right, and in many business plan presentation, people will ask you the question, why now? So, you have to be able to explain why now to yourself first, as to why you are starting the company now, what are the context, why this business should not be started 2 years from now or 2 years backward. Team comes second. Execution has not been mentioned by Bill Gross. I have included these, and we will go by this: idea, business model and funding, because if you do not execute it properly, even timing may not help. How to know that the time for a technology is now? So, how do you know that this is the time? For this, you have to really understand the trend of the technology, trend of people's taste, trend of fashion, trend of everything. So, what is the trend, how it was in the past, how it is going to pan out moving forward, only then you will understand whether the time for your technology, your business is ripe. opportunity cost for not starting is kind of wonderful actually. Decision to become an entrepreneur. This is a repeat slide, but I have given with a different title, meaning that if you do not start, you will not even realize what opportunity you are losing out on. So, you should always start, then only you will know that there was a huge opportunity, there were a huge opportunity you did not know. So, one should start. When is the right time to start? At the age of 18 or 60? People say, or statistics of successful enterprises say that any time is a good time, provided you have taken care of all other factors except your age. Even 18 is good. There are many successful entrepreneurs who started at 18 become successful. There is a news that in Middle East, one boy at 14 became the youngest CEO of a software company, and he is doing wonderfully well. But then it is to be remembered that business operation requires experience. So, if you are just a fresh graduate and if you think that knowing about a product is going to make you successful, that is kind of a wrong philosophy. So, some experience actually helps, but then all businesses may not require experience, but most of the businesses require experience. So, experience does help, and if you plot, if you make a distribution for age with success, you will find that the median will be somewhere at 40 to 50 perhaps. Which business? Fundamentally, a business should be in your knowledge domain, meaning that where you can contribute the most, you can have a handle on the development, on the technology, on customer pain and connecting them and everything else. So, it should be in your own domain. Many entrepreneurs start with own ideas, but then majority pivot and then find you become smarter. With one failure, you become more smarter and you have enormous amount of connectivity. So, you will get a lot of opportunity to learn and then move on the learning curve and then become more successful moving forward. Particularly a good percentage become unsuccessful because they are overconfident on their business idea, meaning that the product that they think is a kind of a breakthrough or earth shattering. They do not have an eye on the customer, they do not understand the market size, the growth potential, the competitive advantage, competitors' strength, sustainability of growth, etc., etc. Those are the points that is to be taken into account when you decide about which business to start. Understand the pain, understand the solution, understand how are you going to disrupt the status quo, meaning the present market scenario, how you are going to disrupt and bring new products, so that customer will switch from others product to your product. What is your unique selling proposition? The timing, ask why now is very important. Scalability, market should be sufficiently large so that you can scale. Today you have a prototype that is validated by 10 customer, tomorrow you get 100 customer, then you gain something like 1 lakh customer. Are there sufficient customer? Can you acquire them? Can you grow? Scalability should be very important. Then these are kind of overlap between team, market structure, entry barrier. If you have something like a technology that is protected by IP, then you can create barrier against entry by others into your business. Pricing power, if you have created entry barrier, you have some kind of a monopoly in the marketplace. So, you can increase price without the fear of losing customers. So, you should see whether you have some pricing power, so that if input cost goes up, you can pass on the cost to the customer. So, you do not incur loss, something like that. Repeatability, will the customer come again and again, or some customer purchase once and then forget about it, is very important, because you have to grow sustainably. Now, there are some steps, there are various slides, lot of them are overlap. Just try to take something new from some of the things that will moving forward. Know what you care about, meaning that do you think you will continue to do business even if there is no money? If the answer is yes, move forward, focus on the problem to be solved. is this problem something like the customer is willing to, or customer is thinking that I must have a solution for this, or I need to have a solution for this, or nice to have, want to have, or it is okay to have. Depending on that, you have to make a solution. If it is a must to have a situation, then you will have monopoly, you will make super profit. So, wonderful, get going. List down all potential ideas very important. You have to think of maybe dozens of or maybe hundreds of ideas, and then keep on trying those ideas and finding what ideas will eventually lead to winning proposition. You should have good idea about yourselves, your strength, weaknesses, like what Madam Saraswati has said about effectuation. We will move fast because these are already discussed. I am just trying to overemphasize. Are you solving a real need? Are there enough potential customers? How frequently they buy? This is the repeatability. Are customers willing to pay? Can they afford? Meaning, do they have the money? You can come up with a wonderful product, but do the customer have the money? Who are your target audience? If they are not, then eventually you will find that you are not selling. Then last point is how fast the technology is changing. So, you have to keep pace with that. You develop a technology, sit back and sell, suddenly you realize another product has come to the market, your technology is obsolete, you cannot think now to develop and then move forward, it is not possible. So, these slides are kind of a repetition, how to start. So, I will not read them or anything, I will just show them for a while, so that you can pause and read them. This again I am saying these are a repetition of the previous slides, but then placed in a kind of a systematic manner. So, it is good, it goes sequentially or in a chronology, and finally, you have the growth strategies. Some last words. Business should always be started around an inspiring vision with a comprehensive execution plan. An open, receptive, questioning culture helps to retain your best talent. Empowering people at all levels can bring out the best and reduce burden on the founders. You can empower your employees, they will do wonderful job, trust them and train them and trust them, they will do wonderful job. You can reduce your own burden. Make plans, do not move unplanned in an unplanned manner, set goals, deadlines, benchmark, communicate so that everybody is on board, maintain an open environment for promoting creativity and generate large number of ideas. Everybody will come up with ideas, even your sweeper may come up with ideas. I will give you an example moving forward, not today, but some other time. Pursue the best idea, create product, roll out successful products and services. A word of caution, entrepreneurship is not for faint hearted. It requires tenacity, commitment, perseverance, grit and resilience. An idea may look attractive, but moving forward it may not turn out to be so. So, you should be prepared for that. There are steps for starting a startup, but then showing them in PowerPoint presentation is not a good idea. I have given references at the reference point where all steps are given on the website itself, freely accessible. So, I will not spend time on this. You must or you should, I will recommend that you should see the websites and get all the steps. These are kind of proven steps I have checked, and these are good steps actually, even though these are mentioned here, I have copied from there. It is all government rules and regulations. So, Ministry of Corporate Affairs is on site from where you can get all the information about registering a limited liability company, but then you should know the basic requirement for starting a company is to get a trade license. If you are in a municipal corporation, then you need trade license from municipal corporation. If you are in a panchayat, get a panchayat trade license, and second thing is to get a GST registration. Then PAN number, PAN TAN. TAN means if you are deducting tax from your employee or any other person. These are the basic licenses that you require to start a business. Then depending on what kind of businesses you are doing, here is a reference, but there are more references. The same reference is mentioned at the bottom as well. So, I will not spend a lot of time on this. Depending on the type of business, you may actually need more licenses specific to, let us suppose for food business there are specific licenses requirement, for pharmaceutical company there are differences. These are some nice quotes. I just thought that it will be these are invaluable about perseverance. Perseverance is the mantra for success. Steve Jobs also said the one thing that differentiates between failure and failed and successful entrepreneurs are perseverance. Winston Churchill once said that continuous effort, not the strength or intelligence, it is the key to unlocking potential is continuous effort, not strength or not intelligence. Then any guy who refuses to quit can never be defeated, something like. And then there are so many, particularly the one with Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is the author of the book Think and Grow Rich, and I find his quotations are very synergistic with our approach. So, read some of them. Benjamin Franklin said energy and persistence conquer all things. Last one is very important. Thomas Alva Edison said innovation or successful entrepreneurship, for successful entrepreneur 1% is inspiration, 99% perspiration, meaning that idea may be only 1%, but you need to put another 99% of effort to really become successful. These are references, and thank you very much.